Good evening. I'm Epstein, and here we are with your Stock Spider ETF market wrap-up. And this is for Tuesday, and we're at the 10th of June, 2025. So we have some news to talk about. Why don't we go to that first? You're going to get the Mortgage Bankers Association numbers first. They're going to come out at 6 a.m. The May Consumer Price Index. Now you're going to get your core, your regular numbers. I write about it in detail in tonight's full research report, and that's where I give the heads up for all that, what to expect, and I'll be with you in the morning when the numbers come up here and go through them then for you. The EIA petroleum stock estimates, they're going to come out at 9:30 in the morning. We just heard that U.S. Treasury Secretary BETZ is now going to leave London. He's going to return to the U.S. to meet at 11 in the morning tomorrow with the House and Ways Committee for a drilling on what is going on. Many questions, not just on trade. But I find that fascinating as Lutnick and Greer are staying behind to finish up the negotiation. No word on how far they've gotten, but this has gone from what Kevin Hessett thought would be a 2-hour meeting with a handshake into a marathon now. And I'm surprised that the House Ways Committee doesn't say, hey, you stay there, finish up. This is very important. When you get back, we'll have the meeting. Maybe they can't do it. There's got to be reasons. Boeing, they just rolled out numbers, and they said that they had 38 new 737 MAX jets, part of the 45 delivered aircraft in May. 45, that's a big number. 303 new orders booked in May, the 6th largest monthly order in the company. Qatar Airways, you can see how many they ordered. In total, 3 orders were canceled during the month, making for 300 new net orders in May. And that takes the backlog to 5,943 orders as of May 31st. You don't think that's a lot of money? And this is why, I was telling traders, I made that my favorite pick of all stocks for my subscribers and said so over and over in December. I said, I think this is the one that'll go. And it has certainly, it has flown the coop. All right. So now we can come back to the markets. But before I do so, I want to remind you, my silver, SLV, and SIL report is still on the website. It goes off the website on Wednesday. So why not take a look at it? Don't wait for the last minute when you go to look at it and it's gone. All you need to do is go to iraepstein.com, free offers. If you're a subscriber, you already know it's in your member login area right up here, so you can view it right that way. And it's very simple for you to do that, okay? All right, so let's take a look, if we could, right now at the charts and what the chart action was. And I found today to be a pretty good day to watch things. And the reason I say that, the market was very stable until the end of the last 2 hours of trading, 2.5 hours, and then the stock indices started to move up. I think traders came to the conclusion, I did, that if this was no, and these meetings were to end on a terrible note, why are they going so long? So things are getting done. Now, how much each side will give up to get to the grand scheme of whatever this phase of the trade deal is, I don't know, you don't know. But I do think it's going to be positive news, and the stock market has built that into it. Amazon came back off the lows of 214, but you went down pretty hard in Netflix, and I have been saying to you here and in my subscriber video, I thought the 1,200 level back down was reachable from the 1,250 level that it had gotten up to, and that did happen. Excuse me here, Mike Cord. And when we look at the metal markets, sort of a mixed bag. I like silver breaking back. I don't want you to buy that rally. You'll see why in a moment. Uber a little lower here. Now the big question is, as we approach June 12th and Tesla rolls out its car, you were up another $17. It's cars, plural. Where are you going? Now, I read a report today before I did this on comparing in, I think it was Shanghai, where a gentleman who's a big investor in Chinese cars, Tesla and so on, took a test ride in the BYD and the other models that are out there. I'm not talking just BYD, I'm talking Greeley. There's a lot of names that you and I are not familiar with, but they're there. And they claim very simply, how do you beat what Tesla wants to charge $9,000 for in a car when it's free in a BYD, the cost in many cases substantially less than a Tesla complete car. And I'm talking sometimes half, sometimes more than that. And it's supposedly a better car. It's a difficult road to haul. Yet you'll never get me to bet against Elon Musk, all right? I do think he's a genius. He'll figure out the technology he has to do. Not everything he does is right. You know that. I know that. Cybertruck. He's had some interesting things he's done. He couldn't deliver, as you know, the low price car, but still very interesting. Let's see what happens here. All right, let's go to the chart action and see what we've got. Energy transfer. I continue to say I think this is a build for a move. Now, I'm thinking it's to the upside, but the market's got to prove itself. It does have higher lows, but it's got lower highs with that outside day down. You need to take out 1806 to reverse the pattern and continue with higher lows and then a higher high. Obviously, it's got to stay up tomorrow, but that would be one of the things I'd be looking for. Where might this go? Well, it's not as though you're running all the way up to this level, but you do things in stages. The first stage says that if you can do that, I think the 1839 level is probably one of the targets. A narrower target that makes this tricky is that the Bollinger Band is right here at 1799. So the first hurdle is that, and that could keep this market just spinning around right in here. That's why I'm looking at it so much. Obviously, when you just look at the chart, higher lows, higher highs, momentum up. You can see that right here. So I do have that area targeted on the upside, and if it carried over that, it gets very interesting. When we look at the raw earths with MP Materials, looking for a pullback. I've said that, it's overbought. I think we want to look at the market coming back in here. I am not bearish this. I'd love to see the market come down and consolidate this big gain that it had, and then start looking at the market on a more serious basis for entry. Broadcom came down, and it did find its support, challenging the 18-day average of closes. Now, it didn't quite hit it. It still should, in theory, as it lost its Bollinger Band. Its embedded slow stochastic. But this is close enough, the way that I teach the theory. And you've gotten down right to that zone. Whether it hits it or not doesn't matter. What it can do is rally from here and hit that average at a higher price if it has to. The negative would be in Broadcom if the market takes out 241.11, closes under 240.78. That would be the negative. That would give you then lower highs, lower lows under the market, momentum down, and suddenly you'd be talking possibly going back to the 220 area, the 219 and a fraction. In Google, you're now back over the upper Bollinger Band. This market has a history of not staying over that very long. You can keep coming back. That doesn't mean that I'm not bullish. I'm rip-roaring bullish on this. I said that even when the legal problems were in the news. I said I thought this market would pull back and try to find support at the 18-day average. It has. Has it put out an easy buy? Absolutely not, at least in my theory. You've got lower low, higher high, you're overbought, and you're making new highs for this leg of the move. When we come to Netflix, to me this was a fairly easy call, only because you lost the embedded reading again. And when I see that happen, you know what I tell you is I think you're going to make a run down to the 18-day average of closes. That's why I came up with the 1200 level. And as you can see, the market's done that whole thing, and it hung right in there, and in fact, it finished just over it. So now the question is, let it consolidate this, and it becomes an interesting chart. In Robinhood, how many people got burned over the Friday trade when the market didn't make it into the S&P? Now, I think it will. It'll be on the next meeting when they decide. You still have lost the embedded reading. To negate all this, you have to go up and make a new high on the move. Otherwise, I still believe in this market price and the 18-day average are likely to come together. Tesla held its challenge of the 100-day average in green, this gray line, which is the 200-day average, the Bollinger Band, and the heavy black. That became the major area of support. The resistance on this rally shows itself at 336.22. It's a bear market rally at this point. Why? Because it's still under the 18-day average. And I believe bias, determining whether you're bullish or bearish, is where are you in relation to this average. When you're over it, I say it's got bullish bias. Under it, bearish bias. When I look at stocks, just keeps continuing. So interesting chart, not embedded, but just keeps going and going. Obviously, it's in play off of all the AI that we have, not only here, but obviously with China. What are they going to get out of AI from America? Because for those rare earths, they're going to want something. And I imagine it's chips, certain software, things of that nature. When we look at the financial sector, it's holding together at the 18-day average. It's been doing it, though, for 2 weeks plus. And it just doesn't move on you. Okay. It probably needs to get more information out of CPI tomorrow, PPI on Thursday. That's going to be probably very important. And you'll probably get a cap on it off of Friday's University of Michigan consumer sentiment and the idea of where people think inflation is going to be. In XLI, you went up 2 days ago, began challenging the upper Bollinger Band. Now you're falling back, as I would expect, to the 18-day average of closes. You haven't taken out the last break low of 143.17. So the support, it's going to be a little higher than 143.15 tomorrow because remember, you dropped 18 days ago number, you're picking up a higher number than you were back then, so the moving average will go up. On XLE, this is where I think the pros took some money off the table. You went to the upper Bollinger Band, kaboom, cash register time. You're not embedded. It's exactly what I teach in my course. By the way, my courses won't be on sale for Father's Day. We had scheduled that it'll be my research that will be there for 3 or 4 days for fathers. It's a great gift if you want to buy a gift for a dad, or if you're a dad wanting to give a gift to somebody else. It's a cool way to do it. And we'll talk about that come Friday morning. That's when the sale will come out and begin. Lower, what do we have here? Higher low, higher highs, let me say it right. Higher highs, lower low, and the market running into the 18-day average, sort of just drifting right now. The push on it's over, but I don't think it's over when you talk to me about the market. I see inflation hanging around because of tariffs a very long time. I see the push staying on it. I'm already seeing, I read an article today, I forgot if it was Reuters or Bloomberg, where now the retailers are telling China, you want to sell us these goods? Tax it on, you eat the shipping. All right. In other words, there's more and more pushing now going on. And I do not believe the 10% tariff is going to go away. You've heard me say that. I don't know how far the Trump administration will go with different countries, including China. That's going to come up too. But with most of the team away, how do they get all this done right now? 3 days now, they've lost to everything but this deal that they're making. And they are going to make a deal, I believe. If they don't, by the way, let's assume that Lutnick and Greer leave and they don't have anything in hand. I don't believe that, but let's assume. You're going to hear a big thud as markets come unglued on that news that nothing can get done. I rate the odds of that at 0.1%. So I'm betting the other way, but I got my eyes open. It's a very dangerous situation because anything based on that the market's been going up, it's going to get better and better, comes unglued with that. In the silver, notice how you rolled to the right-hand side of the Bollinger Band. It's not a sign of weakness, my friends. That is a sign that after being, 3 days over the band, you normally, only 5% of the time you stay over the band. Once you get beyond 3, you start cutting that number down. My theory is that when you're over the band, each day over takes away one of those 5 percentage points. I haven't said this in a long time, and I believe in this. So if you had 5 and you're over it, you got a 4% chance the next day, then a 3% chance of staying over it, and then it moves to the right-hand side. Go back and do your counts when you see that. I think you'll be fascinated at what I discovered over the years. In the copper market, you have an embedded reading. That tells me the next break in this market, which looks like it's setting up, could be the one that you want to buy. Obviously, this would be terribly impacted if the deal between U.S. and China doesn't come about. I don't know what the deal will be, so I'm just going to use the words, the deal. Whatever it is, it's better than nothing. And I don't believe it'll be nothing. You're not going to stay there for 2.5 days now and accomplish nothing. All these important people, no, it's going to be more than that, in my opinion. In the BND, sorry, that's what I was going through, that bad data. This is, by the way, the developers are looking at this right now. They're seeing the problems that I'm having. They think they have a fix for that. It's not us. It's not the charting software. It's the data and how this is massaging the data. And it's only in my stock spider and ETF version. You've got higher lows, higher highs. You can see how the market's coming here. You're fighting a battle right now. Is the dollar going to rally off this deal or break back? That's going to be the big question. So you put it all together, you try to come up with a game plan, and that's always the hardest thing to get done. Let's see if they fix the chart. Nah, I'd have to be in front of the keyboard to hit it to load again. But I want to remind you, you've got the silver report. It's absolutely free to all viewers. All you need to do, well, let me phrase that right. It's free to viewers that haven't used up their free amount of reports before they become a subscriber with us. We do put a limit on how many of my different reports you can see. And once you're beyond it, you're just beyond it. I think that my reports in themselves make a subscription worthwhile, but you can purchase the report right online, and a number of people do that. I'm Ira. You have yourself a great day, and I'll catch up with you all first thing in the morning and in my other videos today. Take care.